Yeah, my mom's a good friend for, and yeah, good friend for.
Someone shot the bus driver, so then he lost control, and then everyone got
Oh, are you serious? What? I can't believe you.
I took the plane today, so it was much faster.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, so
Hello, everyone. If you find a seat, we'll start our program soon. Plenty of seats right over here. Make yourself comfortable. So glad that everybody could make it. The weather outside and trying to get through this emotional day. I want to welcome you. My name is Joni Lum. I joined the Castle Advisory Board in 1990. So this is my family. You all are family. We are all here to celebrate the life of our dear friend, Esther Wong, here in Castle's Harmony Hall, which of course is perfectly named for Esther. It's set there, we all know it's set there. But I feel like she's with us today. I first want to convey the sympathies of our former advisory chair, Linda Yu. I've been texting with her. She's traveling. I think she's in Australia, somewhere in the Pacific. She sends her love to the Wong family and the Castle family. Linda, I know, loved and admired Esther, and she noted how hard Esther worked. She was responsible for many of Castle's achievements and growth, but she never sought the attention or credit. She let others shine. My husband, Mark Moy, and I extend our deepest condolences to you. Bart worked with Esther through his role with the city. He says that whenever she needed something, she was so humbly professional that he could never say no. And so he always got her what she asked for. What I will remember about Esther is how she knew what you needed. She had, of course, extensive higher education, but she also had this deeper understanding of humanity and individuals and where they're coming from and what their potential was. And that's why she was so well suited for social service. There can be elevated stress levels in this kind of work, resolving conflict, doing budgets, fundraising. But whenever things seemed like they were about to go out of control, if Esther was there, you knew it was going to be okay. And if it wasn't okay, she would take care of it. I could just look over to her and feel her calm, her intuition, and her connectedness. She was never prone to ego. She could relate to every age or background. And she always looked for ways to help. Because she truly lived to be in service to others. She had a warm and wonderful life. Esther was loved, and she's here with us now. Esther passed away with her family at her side on October 9th, and we are sad. But today is our opportunity to share our sorrow, demonstrate our love and respect for an amazing leader, mother, grandmother, and friend. All that she gave to others, we can now do this for her. And now I'd like to introduce CASA's CEO, Wong.
Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to say thank you to Joni today for being with us. When I became the CEO of CASA over 5 years ago, I really knew I had some big shoes to fill. And back then, luckily for me, I had both Bernie and Esther in my corner, by my side, to help guide me as I transitioned into this great organization. I recall working with Esther, many fond memories. One of the fondest memories at the start of my tenure was at a lunch with Esther. And Esther had an opportunity to sit down with me to share her life experiences, what Castle really meant to her, to the community, and to this country. So one of the most important things that Esther pointed out to me is what is the essence of our mission. And she told me this, and I will forever remember this. And she shared, CASA's existence is to provide service to others. CASA exists because we serve people in the community as a whole. It was a very simple sentence, but so powerful, because when I look at Esther and I reflect on some of the things that Esther has achieved through the years and decades she's committed her life to, that sentence was Esther, and who she was, the servant leader to the people that she served, impacted, protected, advocated, and fought for. As I reflect on my time with Esther, I could share that she spent her entire life committed to the people that she served, and she loved her community, and her community loved her. Esther's passion for service touched tens of thousands of families in Chicago, Chinatown, and to the Wong family, all around the country. Esther was that champion. So over the year, Esther showed me her generosity with her spirit, her willingness to lend her knowledge and her experiences as she continued to better the community. She always had a quiet grace about herself and a warmth that really radiated at all times. I remember one time she came to my office, of course, not scheduled, showed up, she gave me a book, she said, "Paul, I want you to learn Cantonese. Here's the book for you to read. I know you're struggling." She gave me a hug, she said, "Just try." That action alone, that warning, that she knew I was struggling. She came by just to say, "I understand. I'm here. How can I help?" That was Esther Wong that week. Family meant everything to Esther. We, Catholic family, were so fortunate. She considered us as part of her family. And we will continue to build her legacy of service to the community and the family that she always loved, the Castle family. I'm very fortunate that I had the time to get to know her. We laughed at many times, learned from her, and served alongside from her as part of her community, part of her life. Today is our opportunity to come together and share our love and respect for an amazing trailblazer in this country. Although Esther had retired, she still had a great love for the community, and her work was not yet ever finished. Just like her brain, she continued her service through volunteering and board leadership. This included serving as a director on the board of the Albert and Bernie Wong Senior Living Community Building. She had a great deal of respect and love for seniors in our community. Not only did she help develop Castle's programs in senior housing building, she worked with several other organizations, including the Coalition of Limited English-Speaking Elderly, the National Capacity, CPAC, and so much more. She was on state commission, city commission, county commission. She was a foundation counselor. Esther Wong gave her life and experience to give to others. But she always wanted seniors to have access to all the resources they needed to maintain their health and their lives and live with dignity. Esther loved our seniors, and the feeling was always mutual, because when I saw Esther come to Castle, she gave them hugs, and they hugged her back. And so today, in recognition, we celebrate Esther's life. We're going to start the celebration with the Pine Tree Senior Council Choir to perform a song in honor and respect and love of Esther.
Thank you, Pine Tree Choir. That was really moving. And I know Esther would really love that you did that for her. There's a lot going on in the world these days, and she's the center of our universe today. Right now, I'd like to introduce a longtime friend of Castle, U.S. Senator Dick Durbin.
What an honor it is today to be tribute to Esther, to say to her family, thank you for giving her to so many people, sharing her with so many people. I think of her life's work, her advocacy, her guidance to people who were desperately
Bluetooth disconnected. Bluetooth pairing.
Not sure what that was. Immigration is an interesting issue in the United States of America. We wouldn't be here without immigration. Virtually all of us are the sons and daughters of immigrants. And when it comes to Asian Americans, particularly Chinese Americans, the record is not that good. For many decades, we brought Chinese workers to America to do the hardest, dirtiest work, to build railroads and make changes in public improvements that we live with even as today. And yet, after they had shown themselves to be willing to work so hard in this United States of America, many times the policies coming out of Washington, D.C. were not friendly at all. They were exclusionary, they were hateful, they were prejudiced. But the immigrants who were here were part of America's immigrant experience. The best example I've heard of that experience comes from a man named John Lee. John Lee was a Korean immigrant. His family came to this country and came to Chicago from Korea. John tells the story that when he started school, after his parents arrived, his mother walked into school and spoke to him in Korean and said, "John, from this moment on, you are John Lee, not Junior. It's an American name, and you're going to be called John Lee from this moment forward." And the second thing she told him was, "You're going to learn this language even before I do, and you're going to help me learn this language too. So be brave, John Lee, and be good in school." A few days later, he came home from school and he said to his mother, "The teacher wants us to bring something to class tomorrow." And his mother said, "What is it?" And he said, "A can of beans." His mother said, "A can of beans?" "Yes, that's right, a can of beans for our art class." So his mother got a can of beans and put it in the sack, and John took it to school the next day. He sat down at the table with the other students, and the teacher said to take out your sack what I told you to bring. And he watched as every other student took out a box of cereal, and he took out a can of beans. He had misunderstood. He thought they were supposed to bring a can of beans instead of cereal. And for this little boy, it was a moment of great embarrassment to think that he had done something that was so wrong. The teacher quietly walked up behind him, reached over and grabbed the can of beans and replaced it with a box of cereal, so that he was spared the embarrassment. 40 years later, John Lee told that story when he was sworn in as a federal judge here in the city of Chicago. He told it again at each naturalization ceremony that he has officiated over. It was a reminder to him of the kindness of one person to a little immigrant boy who was still remembered decades later. I think of Esther in that same context. We don't know how many John Lees she touched, but I'm sure there were hundreds, if not thousands. Their lives were made difference, and her involvement in them was a moment of real caring and kindness, which made them feel that they were not alone. And certainly that is something that we all need in life. Many people react to the immigrant coming to this country with a clenched fist. But for Esther and for so many others, it's an open hand. And that's what Castle is all about. It still is. I think of that when I think of Esther and her leadership. The first time I came here as a United States Senator, I came with a good recommendation because I found a fellow named Paul Simon, who was a United States Senator and a friend of the Chinese American community, and his friend, Ben Tom, worked together for so long to help the community. Then I came here, and Esther and Bernie took me to a class in an older building, not as beautiful as this building, of course, but an older building where there had to be 40 or 50 elderly Chinese immigrant women, mainly women. And then we taught enough English so that they could pass the test. And I thought the patience that required, the determination that required, they needed people like Esther and Bernie there to inspire them to stand by their side in this experience. So the legacy of Esther is certainly reaches way beyond this building. It's the lives and families that she touched over the years. The second thing that Esther did was really focus on this community. You can feel it. You can drive into this community and feel the strength. Feel that this is different than many communities in Chicago, because the people have come together with a vision for the future. It's a wonderful feeling. And then the third thing that's important to remember is that Esther and Bernie, Esther particularly, was laying the groundwork for Asian Americans to become leaders in city, in state, and federal government. Today we have State Representative Teresa Maher. She was the first. And it's going to be remembered for a long time, but she just reminded me that she wasn't the last. Asian Americans are now winning elections, and that means that in future decision making, when it comes to immigration, the role of Asians, Chinese, and others, it's going to be impacted by those who are actually sitting at the table, women and men who are sitting at the table. Esther had a lot to do with that. It was not just helping individuals, building this community, but looking to the future, so make sure that these Asian Americans will always be welcome in this country. I'm honored to have worked with them for so many years, and really to have learned from her and Bernie that when you give to the community, it gives back many times over. This celebration today is a celebration of a great life well lived. Thank you for letting me be here today.
Senator Derby, thank you so much. Thanks for your historical knowledge and also for your longtime friendship. Our next speaker is Ann Oliva, the CFO at Embrace Living Communities, which manages the Senior Center.
Good morning, everyone. And thank you for inviting me to speak. While I did not know Esther well, I know the spirit and the heart. And on behalf of Embrace Living Communities and the family remarriage, the senior center across the street, our deepest heartfelt sympathy. I can look in her face and see the word beloved. And to hear the stories of people that did know her well, she not only has touched the lives of the very young, her family, but many in this community of all ages, and has certainly set the stage in a quiet, gentle, loving, caring, generous way for all those to come. I look at her and I read her story, and she is someone I would aspire to. The gentle leadership, the generous spirit, and who she is, the lives she's touched, she will live on forever in your hearts, in your memories. And so again today, thank you as we remember Esther and embrace the love that she shared with all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. You know, it was Esther who believed that the agencies would be stronger by working together. Our next speaker is In-Tae Choi, the Executive Director of Hana Center.
My name is In-Tae Choi with the Hana Center. I'm also here as a board member of National Capacity, where Esther also served as a board leader for many years. So Hana Center and National Capacity both send love and respect for Esther. Esther was a powerful role model for me and so many people around her, especially Asian American women. She made me want to always better myself, to improve myself, because I saw her as a leader who was always so calm, thoughtful, strategic, and effective. I saw Esther as a young, brand new college graduate coming into the community work. I saw her working so hard to build the most powerful and bold Asian American community organization that is happening today. And we saw her really being strategic and being really so dedicated and working so hard for so many years to build what it is today. We also know that Esther's commitment and leadership helped lead Chicago's Chinatown to be named as the best Chinatown in the country. I'm looking at CW too. And we know that, as to be named as the best Chinatown in the country, I'm Korean, and that made me feel so proud as a member of the Asian American community in Chicago. And, to have our very first Asian American state legislator, Teresa, we also know that Esther was behind that as well. So to those of us who are outside of the Chinatown and the Chinese American community, we didn't always see her being the front, but we all knew that she was right behind. She was always behind all the work that was sensible and strategic and deliberate. We always knew that she was there. So, I remember once Esther told me, she said, Bernie raises the money, but I spend it, and I spend it well. So to us, she really exemplified at the critical role and the power of behind the scenes role to what it takes to build and to uplift the community. And she really was a really great example of that. And we all know that without that, nothing will happen, that nothing that we will see. And I'm also very fortunate to have had moments with Esther when she talked about her grandchildren. She showed pictures, she talked about she was going to go visit you, and she was filled with so much love and so much joy for you. She loved you so much. Oh. We will all miss her, but we were all so lucky to have known her and experienced her wisdom and care to help us to be all better people and to help us to all be better community workers. So thank you so much to Esther. Thank you so much to your family and so much respect and love for you.
Thank you, Amy. Now, another one of Esther's community collaborators, David Wu, is the executive director of the Potok Center.
At Esther's funeral, David commented to me that Esther left too soon. She did leave too soon. I met Esther when I worked at Castle for a summer about 35 years ago. She was on the board, so we didn't interact very much, but she saw potential in me and encouraged me to find a place to serve. We worked more together after she became the executive director of Castle. You know, oftentimes nonprofits compete over funding, over attention, even over the people that we serve. But competing was never in Esther's vocabulary. She always wanted to collaborate with us and wanted everyone to succeed. Early in my career, I met a community organizer who was fairly well known, but he was never in the limelight, and he was always giving credit to others. At first, I didn't really understand that approach because we live in a culture that goes after likes and followers. But Esther took that same approach. She knew that sharing the credit brings people together in powerful and lasting ways. While she and Bernie deserved all the attention for Castle's good work, she often deflected the praise to her staff, to the board, and to the volunteers. Chinatown has been blessed by a lot of different kinds of leaders. Some know how to raise money, some cultivate strong relationships with government, some learn to shout really loud about our needs. But we also need leaders like Esther. I'm glad that Castle honored Esther by naming this hall for her, and that the Coalition for a Better Chance American Community gave her a Lifetime Achievement Award. Esther was likely really embarrassed for all the attention, but these will be our reminders to follow her model of caring deeply for the vulnerable in Chinatown, bringing out the best in coworkers, supporting other leaders in the community, sharing limelight and credit with others, and always working hard at doing what is right, what is just, and what is good. David is right that Esther left too soon, but not before she left her mark and made a difference in the lives of her family, in Castle, and Chinatown.
Beautiful, David. And now I'd like to introduce one of Castle's co-founders, one of Esther's dearest friends. He's known her for a lifetime, C.W. Chan.
From the first day I arrived at Chicago more than half a century ago, Esther had been the most significant part of my life. Our two families, Esther and her husband David, my wife Heidi and I, we were among the few Chinese married couples at the University of Chicago campus. We opened our homes to younger single Chinese students. Esther and I attended the same school of social work. We made multiple Explore America trips together. Then we became co-founders of Castle and later business partners. And until her very last days, we supported each other's every community service and civic engagement endeavor, big or small. We became a family. Looking back, my life was definitely richer and more meaningful because of Esther. As I share my experience, I believe you will also feel the same way as I do, in your own way, with your own memories. As chief executive of the largest Asian nonprofit in the region, it goes without saying that Esther would have an impressive and extended list of credentials, accomplishments, commendations, and feats of influence. It was not that she hadn't out front taking a prominent role leading the charge, but as we all know, as knowledgeable, competent, and hardworking as she was, When mission accomplished, Esther was always managed to shun the very moment of the limelight. And that's exactly because of that, people whom she always reserved a special place in the heart for her. Because with her and through her, we could experience the patience, humility, integrity, and genuine kindness that instilled in us hope for mankind. Esther took over the Hamburg Castle during the 2 decades of exciting historical transformation of the Chinatown community, a community with amazing vitality, but also competing and sometimes conflicting interests and priorities. Esther's distinct demeanor and her active, yet understated presence fostered a genuine cooperating spirit and brought closer together organizations and individuals, a key ingredient for progress. Let's hear how organizations remember Esther. From national capacity, Esther's leadership was special. She nurtured the relationship and deeply invested in the relationship with others with kindness and patience. From Castle, Esther's life epitomizes the virtues of patience, kindness, courtesy, frugality, and humility. From CPCAC, beyond her professional and academic accomplishments, she was devoted to her family, and she had generously provided help wherever she went, whether it was to help a friend, to mentor a young person, or to provide advice to her for COVID. She was always able to provide clarity and wisdom in a sanctuary, gentle, and reassuring manner. You may feel that we owe Esther a big thank you for her lifelong commitment and personal sacrifices for the community. But feel no sorry or apology. For Esther, there was no sacrifice or regret, only gratitude. There was no neglect or unfulfilled goodwill to anyone, as she always meant to give 100% to her family, to her friends, to her work, and to her other passions, amazingly, without extra effort, just by simply being herself. Besides her key role at Castle and other high-profile national and government developments, Esther had a central critical role at the CPCAC and contributed to many successes. After her retirement from Castle, she accepted the invitation to join the new Chinatown Security Foundation and quietly guided the young and small organization toward organizational and physical accountability. She tirelessly provided support and comfort as a devoted friend to the late Wong during her last days and continued to preserve her legacy. When an old friend from the early 70s, after achieving recognition as an internationally renowned scholar, decided to retire in Chicago to be close to his UC High Park friends, Esther and David received his old friend with open arms and open hearts. When the friend died without any immediate family alone, Esther managed the funeral and assumed and completed the role as the executor of the deceased estate, while she herself was battling her own cancer diagnosis. She was always loyal and faithful to her friends to the very end and never asked for anything in return. From Esther's own perspective, she was so happy and contented that her decades of community service was summarized in one word: harmony. When the Grand Hall of Castle was renamed after her, the name was her own choice, and this is her gift to us and how she wanted us to remember her. And that remembrance is forever on our hearts. Esther's gone. This is a time the world, the country, and also a society really need people like her. We should all take comfort that the spirit of harmony, kindness, and decency lives on among all the people who share life. Let the rekindle goodness in all of us be a lasting legacy. Goodbye, Esther. Thank you, Esther. We shall meet.
On behalf of the entire AAPI family, I want to send our deepest condolences, love, and strength to the family and community of Esther Wong. She was truly a gracious leader, and we will miss her dearly. Brown makes her commitment to justice. She supported countless leaders and organizations across the U.S. Her legacy lives on in all of us. We've had the honor of being in community with her and learning from her.
I'm so grateful for that last moment of 20 years. First, in her role as executive director at the council, and for the last 3 years as the vice president of the board of the Outer Community of the Senior Living Community. I'll always remember the sparkle in her eyes, her smile when she was pleased. I'll remember her quick intelligence, her generosity of spirit. I'll remember her quiet dignity and integrity. And I'll remember the way she showed us all how to work, how to respect others, and how to live. And I, like you all, will miss her dearly.
I would like to say goodbye to my dearest Islamic colleague, Esther, by sharing some loving memory. Esther has always been very generous in sharing the success of CASTLE and encouraging fellow agencies to grow. A few years ago, I paid a visit to CASTLE while we are in the planning phase of starting a daycare center for the seniors. Esther arranged a tour of all of the CASTLE programs, including the state-of-the-art kitchen and a meeting with the program director. It was her coaching that enabled me to be able to stand here today at CCC's Senior Daycare Center. It's very difficult to say goodbye to Esther, but I believe this loving memory will stay with us for a long time.
I had the pleasure of collaborating with Esther for decades while she served as executive director of CASTLE, and I served as the executive director of Point Center. While she dedicated her life to CASTLE, she also wanted what was best for Chinatown. I always felt that she was cheering for me and for other nonprofit leaders so that Chinatown would be more resilient and flourish. Esther, CW, and I worked closely in the founding of the Coalition for a Better Chinese American Community. The community advocacy by this organization accomplished a lot. The completion of the Pink Park, the building of the Chinatown Library, and hopefully in the near future, a nearby high school. Esther's role was indispensable, as she had a wise perspective, brought CASTLE's clout and resources, and personally did whatever was necessary. I miss Esther, but won't forget her model as a community leader and advocate.
Esther had an amazing way to shift the focus away from herself and others. This is how she impacted so many lives within her community. She led from within her core values and what she believed was the right thing to do, and inspired others through encouragement and empowerment. She was a role model for her staff and all the other organizations she was involved with around the country and around the world. I will be forever grateful to have had the time working alongside Esther and CASTLE. She was a strong, compassionate leader, a mentor, and a friend who always found a way to make other people's lives better with good life.
In the late 60s, my husband and I came as foreign students at the University of Chicago. And there were a group of foreign students from Hong Kong in Chicago. So we got together. There is the married couple group, and then there is the singles group. So the married couple groups, there were about 5, 6 of us with our spouses. That makes 12, 13. And we love to eat Chinese food, so we get together whenever we have time, and then we cook together and eat together. And when we are full and we have nothing else to do, so we dream. So we talk about, what we can do. We were mostly students in social work and education. So we talk about, what we have learned and how we can give back. And that's how we dreamt about Castle. But the funniest thing that I can remember is that when I got a letter in the mail addressed to Mr. and Mrs. Bernie and Esther Wong.
We still have to thank Esther for that smile. Next, I'd like to introduce the history maker, State Representative Teresa Ma.
I hold back the emotions watching that. I'm deeply grateful to be here for this opportunity to share my memories of Esther and to honor her as we gather to celebrate her life. I feel incredibly fortunate and privileged to have known Esther, to have worked alongside her, and to have benefited so greatly from her knowledge base, her expertise, and her generosity as a leader and role model. My first encounter with her was almost 15 years ago when I was a development director at the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights. At the time, Esther was executive director of CASTLE, which was one of the member organizations of the ICER Coalition. And she and Bernie would participate in the ICER gatherings and actions. And seeing them, I was frankly just starstruck, awestruck. These two powerhouse Chinese ladies, regular people get starstruck at celebrities. But to me, Esther was just the epitome of, somebody that I really admired and looked up to, and she was larger than life. She was, I was fangirling at the time. When I joined the staff of CBCAC, my office was based here at Castle, just about 100 feet away from Esther's office. And so I got to work closely with her almost every day. And, during my entire time here, I really treasured the opportunities to meet with her and go over plans or, pick her brain to address an issue. I really appreciated her insight always. What I loved about Esther was how capable and level-headed she always was. She would
travel to conferences and, share her expertise around the country with, all the organizations that you've already heard about. And her leadership within the social service and nonprofit sector was just unprecedented. And she always knew exactly how to approach a problem that needed to be solved. I remember Esther always with a big smile on her face, a kind, gentle, no-nonsense person who I admired so much, especially just her experience and persistence in getting things done, and her ability to be effective, having a role in building Cassie Senior Housing. One of the last email exchanges I had with her before she retired as executive director here at Castle was about pursuing state grant opportunities to try to develop a memory care facility and continuing care services for the seniors that needed or will need more of that assistance, more than independent living could provide them. And I know that that was one of her dreams and a project that she didn't get to complete before she retired from Castle, but it's just an example of how deeply committed she was to a project like that, and thinking for the future, planning, and just an example of the capacity, in her brain, and how involved she was in just making change and improving people's lives and using her talents for good. I'll truly miss Esther. I'm so grateful for all that she's contributed to our community to make it what it is today. She was a trailblazer, and I believe that every one of us can honestly say that we would not be here or where we are today. The community would not be where it is today without her paving the way for us. As state representative in the legislature representing Chinatown and the Chinese American community, I'm privileged to have the opportunity to honor Esther by presenting a resolution from the Illinois House of Representatives, which I was able to pass in Esther's memory. And I'll just take a moment to read some of its contents. So this is a resolution from the House of Representatives of the 102nd General Assembly. Whereas the members of the Illinois House of Representatives are saddened to learn of the death of Esther Wong of Chicago, who passed away on October 9, 2022. And whereas Esther Wong was born in Hong Kong and came to the United States to study. She earned her master's degree from the School of Social Service Administration at the University of Chicago and made Illinois her home. And whereas Esther Wong served as co-founder, board member, and board vice chair of the Chinese American Service League, the largest social service agency in the Midwest, which has been serving Asian Americans for the past 40 years, providing senior care and housing, vocational training and employment services, housing assistance, childcare, youth programs, and other services. She served as executive director of Castle for 15 years from 2002 to 2017, and in honor of her retirement, Castle dedicated its grand hall as the Esther Wong Harmony Hall. And whereas Esther Wong participated in numerous city, county, state commissions and councils representing the needs of immigrants. She served as board member of the National Asian Pacific American Center on Aging, the Chinese Immigrant Service Agencies Network International, the Asian American Coalition of Chicago, the Coalition for a Better Chinese American Community, the Chicago Chinatown Security Foundation, the Coalition of Limited English-Speaking Elderly, and the National Coalition for Asian Pacific American Community Development. And whereas Esther Wong made a lifetime commitment to the betterment of Chinese American and Asian American community, her service impacted thousands of families in Chicago and beyond. She greatly modeled exemplary leadership of both CASA staff and leaders of the Asian American community. And whereas Esther Wong was a loving mother, a caring wife, a loyal friend, a dependable colleague, a respectful boss, an empathetic listener, an inspiring leader, a teacher, a role model, a mentor, a tireless servant to the Asian American community. And whereas Esther Wong, survived by her husband David Wong, her sons Ernest, Jovial, and her grandchildren Vivian Wong and Ronan Wong, and therefore be it resolved by the House of Representatives, the 102nd General Assembly of the State of Illinois, that we mourn the passing of Esther Wong and extend her sincere condolences to her family, friends, and all who have loved her, and be it further resolved that a suitable copy of the resolution be presented to the family of Esther Wong as an expression of our deepest sympathy. And this was adopted November 15, 2022. Present this now to you. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Teresa. What a special proclamation and acknowledgement this is. My mom would have been so proud to be part of this story and remember. Thank you for being part. I also wanted to thank all the earlier speakers for sharing kind words and memories. It really is overwhelming to me and the family to hear all these stories. Of course, she was a fantastic mother, wife to our family, a leader. But we also heard about here and there the public nature. I don't really appreciate it until we hear the stories that we have. So thank you very much for that. And the senior choir performance, wow, that was fantastic. My mom always had a special place in her heart for the senior community, as we've said, and what CASA has been able to do on your behalf. So thank you for that. Good morning. My name is Jovial Wong, and I'm Esther's younger son. On behalf of our entire family, I want to send our warmest heartfelt welcome everyone for being here with us today, here in person in Harmony Hall, but also around the country, remotely via video, and other parts of the world. We know a lot of effort went into planning this event to remember my mom, and our sincere thanks goes out to Paul Wu and his team, the Castle Board, and the rest of the Castle family. It really is so fitting that we're able to gather here in Harmony Hall at the time of my mom's. As you heard, she was very intentional, very deliberate in selecting the name of this hall. She envisioned a place that could bring people together, not just physically in one space, but also in harmony and fellowship, to acknowledge differences in idea, perspective, culture, while also celebrating them at the same time. My mom's passing has been hard on all of us these couple of months. I think about her every day. We miss her every day. We all deal every day with the realities that her absence leaves behind. I often think about what she meant to our family, to my dad, to Ernie, to Michael, to me. I think about what she meant to her friends and colleagues, and what we're doing today really helps bring that home, kind of understand how many people she's touched, and also to the broader community. And the truth is, it can get very difficult to sort it all out in my head, to try to figure out how to fill that void, to replace in our lives what is irreplaceable. But what brings me comfort are the things like what we're doing here today, and have done in our own personal moments of reflection. Remembering my mom for all that she did, all that she accomplished. Trying to make a real difference in people's lives, understanding his commitment to service for others, to better people's lives. Hearing accounts of how she affected people personally and the enduring impact she left on our community. Moving me, and hopefully all of us, to try to do the same. She leaves behind for us not so much a hole that needs to be filled, but a legacy that should inspire us every day. Think about what we've heard, all of what we've heard today. Think about the life my mom lived, all the work that had to go into realizing all of her accomplishments. For sure, she spent a lifetime's worth of work at Castle, and we are literally standing in and amongst this amazing building that offers many tangible opportunities and service to this community. This Harmony Hall that will forever be a space that welcomes and brings people together. For me, coming here will always provide a warmth and a peace and remembrance of my mom. I hope it does for each of you too. To everyone who has reached out to our family over the last couple months to offer condolences, we sincerely thank you for sharing your love and support. It really means a lot to all of us. And all your generous donations will be put towards one of my mom's favorite causes, the Pine Tree Senior Council, that will continue to provide so much engagement for the seniors of Chinatown. Given that we're at the end of the year and the holiday season is in full swing, I would also encourage everyone to make donations if you can to organizations like Castle and other agencies that help continue the missions of service that my mom cared so much about. I know Paul and the Castle leadership will do their best to carry out the vision that my mom and the other founders of Castle had so many years ago. And lastly, I'm happy to share with you all a bit what made my mom so happy, most proud. Her grandchildren, Yen, Ronan, who we heard about, are here today to play for us a short selection of songs. Their way of saying goodbye to my mom and sharing and letting everyone know how much they loved her and how much they listened. The first song is one of my mom's favorite hymns. The second is one that the kids picked out. And to end things, a couple of holiday songs to remind us that life does go on, and we continue to live our lives full of joy, laughter, happiness, family, and friends. Again, on behalf of our entire family, thank you to everyone for joining us on Remembrance of my mom. We all miss you.
was amazing. That was really incredible. Inside, you favor us with your beauty and fill this room with so much love and hope. That was wonderful, really wonderful. Thank you.
Our last speaker today is Council's immediate past board president, Jim Mark.
Yeah, it really was amazing. I don't know all of that, but you know, it's an honor to be here, and thank all of you for coming here today to honor Esther and hearing all these wonderful stories. A lot that I certainly haven't heard. One you may not know of Esther, that she actually retired at least, I think, 3 times. Is that correct? You know, probably around 2014, she originally said that she wanted to retire before her long-term partner really wanted. But I think we soon realized that, you know, she ran the whole operations and it was going to be extremely difficult. So she stuck around. About 2 years later, she said she would retire again. But I begged her to stick around to help with the transition because Paul had joined us as CEO. And then she, of course, agreed to help. About a year later, she was serious and she gave us a real deadline that we could not miss. But, you know, she was so accommodating to us, the leadership at Castle, the board, but really to the community. She was committed to ensure the people within the community will continue to have access to these critical services that Castle provided. The commitment was really the foundation of her character. Personally, Esther reminded me of my mother who had a long battle with cancer, and she was committed to always focusing on others instead of herself. Esther, too, would not let her health get in the way, as I think we've heard a few people mention, in terms of helping friends, family, and of course her extended family at Castle. You know, we would meet for lunch after she retired every now and then, and it's been an honor to meet you in person because we would always catch up on family, ask about how my family is going, how my work is going, and how the community is. But there's one thing she always did. She always had a list. She always had a list of things she wanted to bring up to me. And not just to catch up on the last list she gave me. But she wanted to be sure that everyone in the community was heard and would give me a pulse on what was going on in the community and to ensure that the long-term solutions were still in place for the community itself. And in the end, she always asked for my commitment each and every time to ensure that we would follow up on what she was hearing in the community. As I mentioned in the video, for me, she was a great role model, a mentor, and someone who I look up to, but most of all, a good friend. But really, we're here today to talk about her impact. We've heard so many stories. She was a quiet leader, the brains of Castle, the person behind the scenes getting everything done. I'll speak on behalf of the fellow board members who say she was a gentle giant, selfless, no ego, responsible, a great partner with Bernie who shared a common goal. Short on words and big on action, and a great mentor. You know, someone mentioned that the impact you say on thousands of people, but she probably mentored not hundreds, but thousands of people throughout her time. Some who have become local community and state leaders. The entire team at Castle looked up to Esther as a person with unbridled compassion for others and a relentless pursuit to lead a group of people to solve challenging issues. Community was always first. She cared about the immediate and broader AAPI community. But she just didn't do this always just for one person, but she always found a way to develop a program that would address the larger systemic issues. She made the system work. And speaking with our current COO, Jared Pruitt, he described the running of the operations can be extremely overwhelming. But Esther was able to master this, but he told me she also would take the special cases as a social worker. So she didn't lose that connection and the foundation of helping the people. Esther was not one to boast about her past achievements, the boards, or the committees she was on. She was always committed to serve others, to make other lives better. The organization and processes she built provided long-term social services for so many. She built a culture to make change for others, to make long-term impact. Well, I think we're here to say her legacy lives on today with this culture, the organizational readiness, and commitment to make an impact on families and people around the country. Something I learned as I was getting ready for this, that she served on the UIC's Dean Advisory Council for the Jane Addams College of Social Work. Jane Addams was the great social reformer in America from the early 1900s and Nobel Peace Prize winner. And she once stated, social advance depends as much upon the process through which it is secured as upon the result itself. So this was profound. This was the profound impact that Esther has left with us and is still within us as a community. So let us continue her commitment in the continued process of helping others. And on behalf of the Castle community, David, Ernie, Julio, thank you so much for sharing Esther with us. We are all in a better place because of her.
Thank you all for being here today, for sharing so many wonderful stories. We invite you to have some refreshments with us. You know, at Castle, we like to serve people and we like to eat, and Esther likes to do that herself. So God bless you all.